quick agenda for today. We're going to review what we call our Loan Advisors Diet ebook. It just was published recently by our marketing team. We're going to take a quick look at that. And then if you guys need access to that, we're going to make sure we give you that. We're also going to talk about the 3 mistakes that lenders are making this time of the year and how to avoid those mistakes, and better than avoiding them, how to crush through it into next year. But before we do any of that, I've got a special guest on here, and he wants to talk about an exciting product update. Our very own Director of Product, Rusty Barnes. Rusty, how you doing, brother?
Thanks, Pablo. I'm doing well. So I just wanted to take a minute to go over a recent feature release with you guys that we're really excited about. I'm sure some of you all have noticed it because it's been released for a couple weeks now. But on our alerts dashboard, so can you guys see the screen, Pablo?
Looking great.
Perfect. So we have an example alerts dashboard right here. So you can see we've clicked into William Schrader's mortgage inquiry alert. So what we've added is this new section called previous alerts. And what this is this is going to give you a snapshot of all the previous alerts that a specific borrower has triggered in the past. So for example, you have William Schrader here who has a mortgage inquiry alert. And you can see recently he had also listed his home for sale. So the reason why we think this is really cool is it's just going to give you a little more context and a little more ammo when reaching out to the borrower. You can talk to William about his recent shopping, and you can also talk to him, see how the listing's going, see how he's liking his realtor. So something else that makes this really cool is the longer that you have Sales Boomerang, the more valuable this section is going to become, and the more of a complete picture you're going to get. So just keep an eye out for that. Check your alerts when you get them. See if they've had any recent ones. And if you guys have any feedback on this or any feedback in general about any features that were released or really any ideas, please never hesitate to reach out to our team. We're always looking to make Sales Boomerang as valuable as possible for you guys. And with that, I'm gonna hand it back to you, Pablo.
Right on. Hey, Rusty, thanks so much for jumping on, man. What an amazing update. People have been asking about that. Hey, how am I going to know if anyone that I'm helping that I've received an alert on, if I've been alerted on that person in the past? And what you just shared is exactly that. It's going to show you the history. It's going to show you the date. It's going to show you what alert they had. And man, what a better talking point, like you said, right, Rusty? When I call that person up, not only do I know that they're shopping for a mortgage today, but I also know that maybe last week they listed their home. I also know that they, maybe just even last January, still this year, they also were shopping for a mortgage, right? And I spoke to them and they were shopping for a home. So, it's really one of the scenarios where I can go in with that much more intel and info that's going to put me at the forefront, make me relevant, and help me be more of a likable expert, which is what we want all of our loan officers to be when we're talking to our past customers or our past prospects.
Yep.
Rusty, thanks so much, man. I know you got a ton of other things to get to. We're going to stay around if you want, Rusty, or head out. I know you got things to do. We're going to jump into the rest of SBU. Guys, I want to share something really awesome that our marketing team has created. And they create pretty much every month. This started, I believe, last month. And here, let me see here. There it is. So what we're looking at here is, one of the pages, and this is the first page of the of our monthly marketing piece. And this previous month was the Mortgage Advisors Diet, right? What to feed your pipeline and what to avoid for optimal performance. Guys, as you can tell over here, it's a 6-page, just a brilliant document of insights, of strategies, and of trends that are in the market that are going to affect your team and maybe affect the way that you receive alerts or what types of alerts you should be looking for, or as we're going to talk about a little bit later, how to look for the right alerts and how to avoid some of those mistakes. Something really interesting that I saw in here right off the bat was this stark difference between your typical average loan officer, right, that closes, and this is according to MBA, that closes 3.3 loans in a month, right, roughly 40 loans a year, and then the Scotsman guide who interviewed who discovered 10,000 originators who closed 100 loans or more in 2020, But what's interesting about those 100, those 10,000 originators that close 100 or more, of those 477 of those closed 500 loans or more, and 61 of them closed 1,000 loans or more per month in 1 year, in last year in 2020. So, the question just becomes, man, how can I, right? I mean, there's obviously a difference between top producers, elite producers, and then of course, our run-of-the-mill producer, maybe somebody that's newer, or maybe somebody that's, maybe struggled for one reason or another. But how can we how can we put our more average production loan officers more in alignment with these opportunities to get them, to get them at least more at-bats, right? How do I get them more opportunities so they can close more deals? And that's what this document talks about. Guys, do me a favor, if you're interested in getting this document, drop into the chat, drop LO Diet, and our marketing team will get this to us. But I mean, look at this, guys. There's a great chart and graph in here. 1 month to a healthier pipeline. If your organization's got 100,000 records, right, the number of like clients, past clients, borrowers, and prospects, if you've got 100,000 of those records, here's what you can look to expect in 1 day, 1 week, and 1 month, right? And if you have all these different alert types, you can in 1 day expect to have 276 opportunities for your team. In 1 week, having these different alert types, you can expect to have 1,932 opportunities. And then in 1 month, you can expect 8,280 opportunities, right? So potential volume of over $2 billion, literally in 1 month, right? So maybe we can't make our average producers elite producers overnight, but we can at least in an overnight fashion give our team those kinds of opportunities, right? So again, thanks for dropping those in, guys. We're going to get them out to you. All right, so we're going to talk about the 3 mistakes that lenders are making this time of the year. Okay, and with that said, the reason I even thought about doing this was because I'm meeting with clients now, like literally right now, after this call, this entire week, for the last few weeks. And really what's been happening is it's got me to thinking about mistakes that lenders are making this time of the year, simply because, I really want to know. One of the first questions I ask is, where do you think you're doing great? And where do you think you can maybe improve? And so I just love to know from you, how many of these mistakes you feel that you're making. And hopefully, my job here is going to be to help you kind of avoid those. Okay. Awesome. Richard and the marketing team just dropped the Mortgage Advisors Diet into the chat. Make sure you grab that, guys. So let's talk about this first mistake, right? People are calling off the hunt too early, right? So I've already spoken to a couple of clients recently that said, hey, Pablo, it's the end of the year. Should I start to maybe turn down the faucet or turn down the valve for alerts until next year? And the answer is no. No, that is a big mistake. Listen, the only day you do not want to market are the days that you do not want your team to have clients. Okay. And so in less than a couple of weeks, if not sooner, right? What's today? The 12th, I believe. It's my son's birthday soon. I should be definitely more aware. But in a couple of weeks, if not sooner, everyone's going to be kind of checking out for the holidays. And if we're in marketing, like a lot of the folks that I talk to, there's almost this temptation of, hey, listen, it's almost Christmas time. People are kind of half checked out anyway, or they're busy getting ready for the holidays. And so there's really nothing that I can do. So let me just shut everything down and reevaluate this a little bit later, right? And let me tell you that right now, guys, by far is the best time, far and ahead of any other time, to find borrowers. And why is that? Well, let me tell you why. Everyone's coming to this time of the year. We're all kind of coming to this time of the year together, obviously. But 12 months ago, you and I included, those very people set some goals about what kind of house they'd like to be in, or what kind of financial situation they'd like to be in. And right now, they're coming to that reality that it didn't work out quite as good as they wanted, right? And so they're hoping that that next year is going to be better, right? They're hoping that it's better, but they have no plan. They have no guide. They have no confidence, no certainty that it is going to be better. And so now's the perfect time to get in front of them, to getting them on board for a better next year. That's our job. That's our responsibility, right? So the lesson for this is don't call off the hunt too early, right? Share this with your producers and see who's on board, and mark it all the way through until the end of the month, through the end of this year, right? December 31st. And so if you're with me so far, do me a favor, drop the word yes into the chat. Do not stop the hunt. Drop the word yes into the chat. Do not call off the hunt. All right. Deborah, thank you. So kind. Latisse, Grace, and Jenna, great. All right, mistake number 2. Failure to provide value over the holidays. Okay, failure to provide value over the holidays. In mortgage, as you may very well know, this time of the year, from Thanksgiving until literally now, kind of nothing happens, right? And so aside from automated happy holiday messaging, how much are current borrowers, right? How much are your current borrowers, people that have done loans with you, actually thinking about you? And let me tell you, I was in the business 9 years, right? As a loan officer, as a branch manager, operations. And how much are they thinking about you during this time of year? And the answer is not at all, right? They're either busy working because they're trying to save as much money or earn as much money to be able to spend for the holidays, or they're booking their holiday travel or just relaxing. They're not thinking about us, right? So if they see the mortgage payment value, right, the mortgage payment that they're making every single month, they see that value coming out of their bank account, but they don't see value coming back in. They start to, there's a psychological thing that starts to happen. And so we need a system to provide value over the holidays and framing what I call Christmas value as super, super important, right? So it's important that they're going to have a break, that if you're going to have a break, they're going to have a break. It's really important that you frame that this is what we're going to do and add value before, right? Heading into Christmas. And here's what we're going to do when you get back, right? Kind of the big thing of what's going to happen in January, so to speak, right? So here's what we want to do, right? This isn't just a mistake. It's something that you can do that's simple. We don't want to give them anything heavy. We want to give them a light, kind of simple task. What I'd like you to do is, for example, some of you might already have something like this, but what I want to do is help you get the wheel spinning of saying, yes, we should grab that idea and we should roll with it, because Pablo mentioned that is one of the mistakes that's happening. So what do we have them do? We have them do things like, hey, I want you to read this chapter in this book, right? Some of you had sent out books last year, or some of you have blogs that you or the team have written. Send them a specific paragraph or send them a specific link and say, hey, listen, we'd love for you to read this because during this time of the year, here's what happens, right? Very simple, right? So you have them do that. You have them listen to a podcast. You have them watch a video, whatever that is for you, have them do that simple thing, right? So it's what do we do pre-break? And then what are we going to do as soon as we get back, right? For our current, and I'm talking about for our current clients. So what do we do so that we can keep them inspired when they come back? And that could be getting them fired up about, a top-notch home buyers workshop that you're going to do in 2022, right? Or something like that. Think of what you're having them kind of prepare for in that light task that can lead them to the big thing, right? So a lot of us are trying to find, in retail, maybe we're trying to find more opportunities to help buyers be smarter when they're buying homes. So maybe I'm sending them to read, hey, read the list of the 10 mistakes that people make during the holidays when getting ready to buy a home. And then boom, when you come back, be sure to register for our workshop that we're hosting with our referral, real estate referral partners, right? So do that. And that's really going to set you up, right? That's going to set you up for avoiding that second mistake. So again, there's mistake number 1, calling off the hunt too early. It's going to stop you from getting new clients. Mistake number 2 is that failure of providing value during Christmas, which means you're going to lose current clients, right? So mistake number 1, avoid you from getting new clients. Mistake number 2, means you're going to lose current clients. And then the third one is the one I really want to focus on it's one that I want to focus on quite a bit on this call, right? So I'm going to basically take the majority of this call and really spend some time. So if you'd like myself or my team, your CSM, to walk you through any of what you've heard so far, please drop the word strategy 2022 into the chat, and we'd be more than happy to take care of you. Okay, just drop the word strategy 2022. If you're at the at the decision-making process for really evaluating what you're doing with Sales Boomerang. But let's jump into this third mistake, right? And that third mistake is not preloading January. Not preloading January. Really, what happens is when we're not, when we're not preloading January. If you're like many lenders, you've had a good year. Excuse me. You've had a good year, and there's been some highs. There's been some lows. It's been great. It's been hard. I bet you didn't get everyone you wanted to. And we're all ambitious, and our ambition limits us, right? To often get to where we want, exactly where we want to be. And some lenders happen to kind of limp into the new year, right? And you're like, I can't wait for a break. And so here you are, you get your break, and then you come back, and many start the new year without a clear plan or without a chess piece in place. And it's like the difference of making your weekly plan, I guess, like, the week before, or even making the daily plan the night before. Like, if you don't have a year's plan before the year starts, guys, it's going to take you a good while to get your mojo back, especially if you've been off a couple weeks. So you come back, and it takes you a while to reset. And now you've sort of lost January, right? And so you're spending, here's kind of the problem that this mistake leads to, is that you're spending January, this kind of what we call opportunity. You're spending this opportunity time planning when you could have been crushing it. So the plan is that you would have plenty of at-bats and relevant opportunities for your production team in January, and really throughout, right? Not just January, but throughout the entire year. And so I want to discuss these 4 gauges, right? These 4 gauges that we should always keep our eye on, particularly when using Sales Boomerang. So what I want to show you now is what we're putting in place, for these strategy calls that we go through with all of our lenders, all of our partners, and what we're discussing in these calls in order to preload January and really the whole entire year, so that you can be in operation mode versus planning mode. Okay, operation mode versus planning mode. So similar to when you're preparing for a race or a marathon, guys, you want to check and double check that your proverbial ducks are in a row, right? You don't want to show up at the start line and realize you don't have enough air in your tires, or no fuel in the tank, or worse yet, you have to go to the bathroom, right? So it's really 4 areas that we're going to be looking at right now, and really every quarter, if not every single month. All right. By the way, if what I'm saying is helpful, right? Let me know, what have you picked up so far? Please drop it into the chat. But I'm going to get into these 4 Sales Boomerang gauges that we should be checking and analyzing. Okay, here they are as follows. So the first one we're going to focus on. Here is going to be alerts. Right? Are you positioning your loan officers to crush 2022 with the right mix, right? With the right mix of alerts for your loan officers' diets, right? Now, really, there's essentially three different types of alerts, right? I'm going to call them defensive alerts. Okay, so there's defense alerts, offensive alerts, and prescriptive scenarios, right? So what's a defensive alert, right? These are ones where people are on the move, right? They're in the market, they're doing things, and now we kind of have to approach them and try to catch them before they completely leave us. And so those really fall under the alert types: mortgage inquiry watch, right? Somebody's pulled their credit, and now we have to now we got to get in front of them, kind of remind them of why they did business with us in the past, because they're on the move. Listing alert, right? Listing alert. They've listed their home for sale. Again, they're on the move. We need to make sure that we get in front of them before they leave. And lastly, EPO, early payoff prevention alerts. Early payoff for prevention alerts. Again, someone's pulled their credit within this last 6 months of us having done a loan with them, right? So those are your defensive alerts. Now, do you have the right ones? Are you playing defense where people are trying to kind of leave out the back door? And then let's look at your offensive alerts, right? Let's play offense, also known as opportunity alerts. So what are these opportunities? So one of my favorites, I call it an underdog, is Equity Watch. Equity Watch. Anytime any one of your borrowers has usable equity, and I think this is great because if you just took a decent note, if you took decent notes on your past customer, on what their financial, career, or like family life goals were, guess what? Anytime they have equity, you can always call them, give them the good news, and let them know that, hey, because you have equity, and because this information that my lender has let me know about, that our company has let me know about, you're in a position to be that much closer to your goals, right? So that's equity. There's another one, Rate Watch, right? Rate Watch lets you know anytime someone's got a higher interest rate than what you currently offer. Hey, that's great news that I can deliver, right? I ran some math, Ms. Smith, and turns out, I could save you a couple $100 a month. That's $2,400 towards junior's, college fund every year. Okay. Credit improvement. That's also great news, right? Someone's credit has improved to the point where maybe in the past they were turned down. And instead of me turning them down, I didn't turn them away. And I said, hey, listen, I'm going to be in touch when your credit is, it qualifies for when we can help you. And now I'm giving them a call and giving them that good news. And then lastly is Debtwatch, right? I know someone's got debt. I know they've got equity, and I can help them out. Okay, so those are offense alerts. And then one of my favorites, guys, prescriptive scenarios. Guys, these are the most validated alerts that you can get in the business, right? Everyone knows what a scenario is, what a loan scenario is. Well, imagine receiving alerts anytime someone has enough credit, or has the right credit, has enough equity, and also has the right home value or home loan amount, so that you can get the right loan size for doing a rate and or term reduction, right? That's number one. We have cash out. Someone's got debt, and they're fully qualified. Again, this is without looking at credit or anything like that. And then also FHA, MI removal, right? So you want to check. Obviously, this is a no-brainer, right? Hey, we can remove that pesky $123 line item every single month. But the bottom line is that when we're looking at alerts, right? When we're looking at this alert section, is that you always want to be thinking about, am I in alignment with what my loan officers need right now and where the market is, right? And so always be checking those, because this could change. This could change when you first start. You might only start with one or two or three. It doesn't mean that you might have everything and that you'll keep everything, but the bottom line is that you want to have somebody to help you out with this, right? So let's move on to the next dial, right? This next gauge that we're going to look at. And the next one that we're going to talk about is records. We're going to talk about records. All right. And what records means is this is your lifeblood, right? If you're an F1 Formula One racer, right? There was a lot of drama this past weekend in the F1 world. But if you're a Formula One racer, and the same way, and for the same reason, you wouldn't run a race without properly fueling up. You wouldn't start a race with only a quarter tank of gas, right? It's really important that we have kind of this full, let's call it a full tank of gas. We want to go all the way to the top, right? We really want to be all the way to the top up here. And what starts to happen is if you don't, right, if you enter a race with only a quarter tank, you're not going to get that far, right? So it's really important to always have a full tank if you're in it for the long haul. And really, there's two types of fuel. There's two types of fuel. Number one is going to be your past customers, also known as, right, previously funded deals. And number two is your past and current prospects. Your past and your current prospects. Okay. Minimum, and I mean a minimum of 3% of your database is on the move every single month. Every single month. So remember over here, I talked about in the alert section, right? There's defense, there's people that are on the move. Minimum 3% of your database is on the move every single month. So over a year, right? So 3% times 12 over a year, we're looking at approximately 36% of your clients and prospects could leave you without you even having a clue. So the question all of a sudden doesn't become if you're, if you're not filling your tank, the question becomes, how much business are you okay with losing? Okay, so if you've ever had a loan loss report, built out for you by Sales Boomerang, we do that, right? We show you, and I know there's a fee for that, but a loan loss report is super valuable because it can literally show you everyone that's in your database. We run that report for you, and we can let you know who has actually left your database, who is no longer, they might be in your database, but who's actually funded business elsewhere that you thought was in your database, right? And we can look at that number, and usually it's a staggering amount. It's shocking to most people, but anyway, that's something to keep in mind, right? Because if you're okay with losing that, then here's the deal: then you don't have to worry about putting these records into your database, right? Into our record management. But the truth is that people don't like to lose customers. People don't like to, spend money on leads and then not have them convert, even if it was 3 months later or a year later, right? So again, the question is, how much money or business are you okay with losing, right? So the point is, fill your tank with all your records, and we'll work and strategize with you to monitor accordingly on what we call mapping your data, right? There's actually a full process that we do. And again, if you need any help with that or any assistance to discuss any of those, right, drop in the word strategy 2022 into the chat. All right, so we got 2 more to go. Thank you for sticking around. I know we're going a little bit over time, but the next section that we want to cover is over here to the left, and it's called the bureaus section. It's called bureaus. You always want the most accurate data when it comes to your leads, right? That accuracy, specifically for credit-based data, in part depends on the number of credit bureaus that we monitor for you, right? And so obviously there's your 3. Right, there's your 3. You've got TU, TransUnion, you got Equifax, and you've got Experian. Right, we got TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. Now, here's some quick stats, and we've been monitoring this. We've been tracking this. Our product development team has been on top of this. And when our lenders went from utilizing 1 bureau, right? So when our lenders went from utilizing 1 bureau to 2, right? Going from 1 to what we call dual bureau, they saw and you're gonna go crazy when you see this, they saw a 47% increase in validated alerts. 47% increase of alerts because they were that much, they had that much more information and accurate information. Okay. And from when they went from dual bureau to tri-bureau, they saw, right? So when they went from here to using all 3, they saw an additional 15% alert bump. Okay, they saw an additional 15% lift in alerts, and so really taking a look at this again, the number 1 goal is to help you ensure that we help you get more deals across the finish line accurately from the beginning. So really the conversation becomes very easily about ROI versus budget, right? When we're looking at bureaus, really it's going to become ROI driven versus budget. Okay. And yes, there are fees. I believe just using 1 bureau, I believe there's no cost for that, right? I believe it's free. To add Equifax every month, I believe it's $300. To add Experian, a 3rd bureau every month, it's $600 per month. Okay, to have all 3 of those. So again, what we found is that for the for lenders that have that have more than 13,000 records, right? Kind of going back to our other records conversation. If you have more than 13,000 records, the investment to have dual and or tri-bureau is immensely a positive gain on, for the organization, for the lender. Okay, so that's again, now we're looking at, we just looked at the, we just looked at alerts from, the different dials. We looked at alerts, we looked at bureaus, and we also looked at records. Okay, and then lastly, guys, I want to talk about settings. Now the market's been changing, right? Market's been changing for many different reasons, and it's hard to keep up sometimes. And we find that our partners are mostly playing the reactive game. So settings within the admin dashboard, right? So the decision makers at the lenders that are our lender partners, they find themselves kind of mostly playing the reactive game. So the settings, again, within the dashboard can be adjusted to hit your targets, right? You want to adjust those settings. And it's funny, I had one of our marketing managers from our lender clients tell us just this past Thursday, right before our holiday or our Sales Boomerang Summit, he told us that he knew December was traditionally low, and a couple of weeks earlier he had made an adjustment to his rate alerts, and he found an additional 15,000 alerts for his team, and because of this, right, because of making this one change, he found an additional 15,000 alerts. And those are opportunities that's going to lead to his team having clients by Christmas. Okay. So the main areas that you're going to be able to make alert settings and adjustments to. Number one is going to be the rate. Okay. There was one right there that was made. Second one is going to be equity. Equity. Clients with, if you have more or less equity, what we call sensitivity, right? If you're willing to open up your equity funnel and allow somebody with more or less equity, depending on what you're looking for, you can actually start to open these up and really put yourself in a position where you're not waiting on opportunities to come in the front door, right? You're actually creating them, right? You're actually creating the future there. Next one, credit. Okay. Again, for product, right? For your mortgage products and your FICO sensitivity, it's really going to be determined on how much of these you can open up, right? How much of these settings you're able to open up to allow for either, again, more or less alerts, right? Like, do I want more opportunities, or do I want kind of less opportunities but more targeted? That's going to be for you to find out, right? But when you turn the adjustments and you say, hey, I want less opportunities, what you're also discounting is, let's not forget the fact that we don't necessarily know what that person's scenario is, right? There's a lot of kind of emotional unknowns when we turn it down. So just keep that in mind. Obviously, a couple other settings that you can adjust is debt, right? So when you're looking at like our cash out, prescriptive scenarios, and even the Debtwatch alerts, and then also number 5, home values, right? So again, you are able to lower those. So for example, one thing that we did, I'll just share back up here with equity. For those of you that are using equity alerts, or you're using FHA MI removal, one thing that we've seen is that some lenders, they want to get ahead of the game, and especially because of the amount of equity that Americans are now experiencing, still growing, even though 2022 is, targeted to be a lower equity growth year than obviously 2021. But what they're doing is they're setting their equity alerts to 82% instead of 80, or even 81% instead of 80, where, you can remove a FHA MI at that point. They're doing it so they can get a little bit of a jump and not possibly lose that customer that might still even talk to somebody else prior to you calling them, right? Because that doesn't mean they're not getting junk mail from somebody else that says, hey, you might be close to removing MI or things like that. And so they're making that move, and they're getting additional alerts opportunity. So again, kind of going back, right? What did we look at here? We looked at these different alert types and alert settings. And the gauges were, again, the alerts, the records, the bureaus, and the settings. So the 3 mistakes to avoid: calling off the hunt too early to avoid losing new business now. Number 2, not adding value during the holiday season, right? To stay relevant when the time hits and to not lose current clients. And then lastly is not preloading January by taking a look at essentially this dashboard that we just went over, right? Again, the key is to preload 2022 now so that you can eliminate planning during opportunity time and bring the opportunities to your production team and keep the LOs fed and keep the revenue coming in. Again, follow these 4 gauges, ladies and gentlemen, at least quarterly. Check in on these every single quarter, and you will get to the promised land, right? So drop into the chat. What did you what did you learn? What did you love? Let us know. And also, if you have any questions, now would be the time to ask. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. If you've got any comments or anything that you'd like us to answer, any thoughts that you have about the 3 mistakes, about the loan officer's diet, about the dashboard of the different gauges that we looked at, please let me know. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to set a strategy time. Drop the word strategy 2022 if you're watching this live or if you're watching a recording of this, and me and my team will get in touch with you and have the discussions to make sure that you are lined up to win that race, to feed your LOs, and to make 2022 better than 2021. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care and be well.